Hello, very good morning everyone. So today our next topic is creating fireworks. So how to create fireworks will be seeing. So the very first thing, I'm going to take some 300 frames. So for creating that fireworks, I'm taking almost 300 frames. Make sure your playback speed is maximum real time, and then I'm going back to settings and preferences. So here in settings and preferences, just check whether the FPS is 24 frames per second or not. Okay, and then I'm going back to render settings over here. Then I'm making it as a mental ray, and here I'm going to give the name as fireworks particles, and here format as PNG, and extension, frame extension as dot extension, and padding as 3 end frame to about 300. Once this is done, now let us go and create the particles for creating fireworks. So the very first thing, I'm going to create center pivot, freeze transformation, edit, delete by type history, then Windows outliner to my shelf. Then I'm going back to dynamics module. So on your keyboard just hold H, and with your left mouse button you can jump into the respective module. So I'm going back to dynamics. In dynamics I'm going to create particles, create emitter. Go to its option box, reset everything and hit create. Selecting this emitter, Control A, I'm going back to its emitter attributes. So here I am going to rename. So open outliner, just try to rename the emitter. Name it as rocket emitter, and this one as rocket particle. So I'm going to select the rocket emitter. Instead of omni, make it as direction, because I want to emit particles in y direction, only in one direction. So I kept emitter type as directional, and hardly I need some 3 to 4 particles, that's it. Per second it should emit about 3 to 4 particles. So I kept it as 3 particles as rate. Now going back here to the direction, here in direction it is x, make it 0, and in y give it as 1. Coming to spread, with these basic settings I am going to hit play. Now see, particles are moving in one direction. So if I give spread maybe around 0.35, then reset and then play, so particles are emitting in almost half of the direction. Okay, so you can increase this value maybe give around 0.5. Then almost in semicircle manner the particles will be emitted. Now with that, just give speed of about 20 units, random speed about 1 point, or else you can give some 2. Afterwards again I am going to change those settings. With these basic settings, hit reset and then again play. Now particles are shooting with higher speed, much higher speed. Right? So I am going to select these particles, go to particle shape. In the particle shape, I am going to give lifespan instead of live forever, make it as constant. So it should die about a certain height. So let us give some 5, then check out where particles are getting died. So almost, so it is moving much higher. Okay, so if you feel like you want to blast particles in much higher distance, then you can increase this value, or else you can keep it around some 3.5. so almost about 3.5 seconds the particles will be dying. Okay, so give some 5. Then going back to its render types, instead of points make it as a spheres, and here sphere make it some 0.25. Okay, so after that I'm going to hit reset and then again play. So all the particles after reaching 2.5 seconds, not 2.5, after reaching 5 seconds, because here we kept lifespan as 5, after reaching 5 seconds they will be vanishing. Now these particles will go under the influence of gravity. So I am going to fields and I want to add gravity field. So hit reset every time you use the new tools and apply. Now since gravity is acting on the particles, its height is not much. So again going back to particle rocket emitter type, here previously I have given 20, make it some 45, and random speed some 15. With these values just check out how much height the particles are getting shooted. So if you see here, in all the directions particles are now getting shooted. Okay, so with this, now I want to emit particles from the particle itself. Now every single particle is going to become as emitter. So I'm going to select, go to outliner, select rocket particle and go to particles. Now apply emit from object. Now hit reset and then again play. Now if you see here, every particle of this has become now as emitter and it's emitting now particles. So again go to outliner, first we'll try to rename it. So select this emitter, name it as fragment emitter and this as fragment particles. Okay, so I'm going to select again fragment emitter, these fragment emitters. So these are the fragment emitters and fragment particles. Let us define it. So here what I am doing is, let me make its rate as about some 500 particles. Now see how many particles it's shooting. Go back to its max distance, give max distance as some 0.1, speed, give it as some 8, and speed random give some 2. Okay, now with these settings, let me go to fragment particle shape. So here in fragment particle shape, after applying one particular attribute tool, I'm going to change this attribute. So let us go back to the very first frame. Now hit play. Now I'm going to outliner. I'm going to select now rocket particle. Okay, so instead of emitting these particles from the very beginning, it should be seen only at the time of explosion. So to do that, I'm going to select the rocket particle shape. Okay, and I'm going to particles per point emission rate. Hit per point emission rate. Now after that, hit reset and then again play. Now see, I can't see any particles. Select these particles. If you see here, I have got fragment emitter rate per particle. Over here I'm going to create a new ramp. Right click, edit ramp. Here I'm going to edit it. Wherever I have got white, that area particles will be seen. Wherever it is black, instead of linear, I'm going to make it as none. Okay, so here I'm going to make it as a down. Wherever I'm going to show white, that area only particles will be seen. Other area particles will be hidden. Go back one step, and here I can see array mapper. Minimum value as 0, maximum value gives some 750 value. Hit select, reset, and now see how particles are being exploded. Okay, now these particles, now I am going to give the values. Instead of leaving forever, let me give some random range. Give some 1.5 seconds and some 0.5 seconds of time. Particles should be vanished. Okay, after that I'm going to make these points, instead of points, make this as for time being let it be points. Afterwards I am going to change it. Okay, so after that, when this part is done, so what I'm going to do is, these particles now they are emitting and they are exploding nicely, right? These particles should have the influence of gravity, so I'm going to add again gravity, but not as much as the original particles. So give some 3 value, so that these particles after explosion they will be under the influence of gravity. Under the influence of gravity they will come down. Now once that part is done, I'm going to select these particles. Okay, and I'm going to see these particles, and I'm going to I'm going to select this, go to particles, and now again hit emit from object. This time again new emitter has been created. Name it as trail emitter, and this as trail particles. So here again I'm going to hit reset. Now just check it out. these particles are now having some trail. While moving, it is emitting some trail. So this trail emitter give some speed, maybe around some 500 particles. Minimum and maximum distance. Max distance gives some 0.1. Speed also I am giving some 0.1, because if speed is increased, it is going to change its pattern. All the time I want to have line like structure. To make it clear, visible, I am going to use speed as only 0.1. Okay. Then coming back to its particle shape, for trial I am going to reduce the conserve. So conserve, if conserve is 1, so I am not conserving any of the speed of the particles. Okay, they are moving in their direction. If I am making it 0, then whatever particles have been emitted, they try to stay at their own position. They are not going to move. Since particles have been emitted after 5 seconds, whatever time duration is given, they are going to die after that time. So here I am going to make a conserve some 0.9, so that its speed is conserved. It's not going to move that much fast. Okay, after conserve is done, I'm going back to lifespan, make it random range, give again some 1.5 seconds and random as some 0.5 seconds. General seed, if you want to give some value, so that all the time you are going to get some random movement or emission of particles. Instead of having same routine emission of particles, it is going to take some different value. Again, these particles I am going to change its type afterwards. While rendering, I am going to change it. Okay, then once this part is done, again hit reset. Now if you see here, after 1.5 seconds, particles are getting died. Now again, let us go back to these particles. After exploding, these particles should further explode. To do that, I am going to select these fragment particles, go back to particles and emit from object again. Now here again I am going to rename it. Let me name it as sparks. Sparks emitter, and this as sparks particle. So let us get to sparks emitter. Here also I am going to give some 500 particles, and max distance is some 0.1. Minimum distance will be 0. Coming back to speed, let us give some 0.1. Coming back to particle shape, the very first thing, conserve, I am going to make it 0.1, because all the time I want to conserve its shape. You see, after explosion, how particles are staying in their shape. Okay, so that is done using this conserve. Coming back to its lifespan mode, make it some random range, give 1.5 seconds and 0.5 seconds. This is up to you how much time particles want to stay in the scene. You can change the lifespan mode of the particles. Coming back to this, again while rendering I am going to change its type. So once this is done, then hit reset and then just check it out once. So particles, fireworks are moving, and then explosion happen. Okay, so the next class I am going to show how to add materials for the exploded particles. Okay, thank you, take care.